Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, May 27th, and I'm your host, Kristen McDonald. It is great to have you with us as we end another week here in Norwood. Every year, we honor Norwood's veterans on Memorial Day. Director of Veteran Services, Teddy Mulvihill, reminds us all why we take the time to remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country.
Memorial Day this year in 2022 will be very special because we're going back live. After a long couple of years off and doing virtual celebrations and observances, it's time for us to get back out there and show the townspeople of Norwood what Memorial Day is all about in a very public way. The reason we can meet in public, that we can assemble and have the right to dissent and be vocal about it, and the right to pursue the religious, beliefs of our choice and vote, and all these freedoms that we enjoy as Americans are directly responsible to the duty of the men and women who went before us and gave their lives. We're here to honor their memory. We're here to honor their service and their sacrifice and their family sacrifice. They've given us their best, and it's up to us to make sure that we respect them, respect the service of the men that have fallen, and also make sure that we recognize the families for their sacrifice as well. We'll have Saturday morning on May 28th, we'll put the flags on the gravestones, 5,000 flags, new flags on veterans' graves up here at beautiful Highland Cemetery. And then on Monday proper, we'll have Mass at 8 o'clock, at St. Catherine's with Father Donahoe, who is a veteran himself. And then we'll have lower the flags to half-staff on Town Hall at 9. We'll muster at Howard Street and Washington Street at the Old Parish Cemetery at 9:30. We'll get everybody lined up and the parade will step off promptly at 10 a.m. We'll march down Washington Street to Winter Street, up Winter Street, right here to this area, and we'll have our ceremonies starting roughly 11 o'clock in the morning. And then collation afterwards, as always, down at the VFW on Dean Street. It's going to be a good day.
Thanks, Teddy. For full details on the Memorial Day ceremony, visit the town's website. Temperatures peaked 90 degrees last weekend as Norwood experienced its first heat wave of the spring and summer. The library opened its doors as a cooling station for residents in town, providing access to water in a cool, air-conditioned environment. Library Director Clayton Cheever shares more.
It was great to be able to offer the library as a cooling station this past weekend. We had several people who came by on Saturday evening when it wasn't as hot as we predicted, but we definitely got good feedback. And then on Sunday morning when we were able to be open from 9 until 2, when we usually open only 2 to 5 on Sundays, we had several people come through and just appreciate being able to use the resources during that time. We'd love to have, summer hours, Saturdays and Sundays, summer long. We have also heard from folks, even if they don't attend and come into the library, just knowing that we're there so they can get cool if they start feeling too hot is a great just kind of existential relief. Knowing that there is relief available sometimes means we don't need to take advantage of it, but we can feel more comfortable and relaxed knowing that we're not going to overheat.
We'll be right back with an update from the Health Director.
You're watching Norwood News only on Norwood Community Media.
Welcome back. The warm weather is back, and that means summer is just around the corner. Health Director Stacy Lane shares some important information to stay safe and healthy this summer.
Hi, I'm Stacy Lane, Director of the Norwood Health Department. I would like to share some information with you about tick season and ways to stay safe this summer. Although ticks can be active throughout the year, including the winter, the risk of being bit by a tick is highest in the spring, summer, and fall. Ticks are tiny bugs that are usually found in shady, damp, brushy, woody, or grassy areas, especially tall grass, including your own backyard. They do not fly or jump, and ticks attach to animals and people that come into direct contact with the ticks. Black-legged deer ticks and dog ticks are found throughout Massachusetts and may spread different disease-causing germs when they bite you. The most common tick-borne diseases in Massachusetts are Lyme disease, babesiosis, and anaplasmosis. Tick-borne diseases can also be very severe. Taking steps to avoid tick bites is very important. When going outside to an area that's most likely to have ticks, stick to the main pathways in the center of the trails when hiking. Wear light-colored clothing, long-sleeve shirt with long pants, and tuck your pants into your socks. This will make it easier to find the ticks if they're on your clothing. When using insect repellents, always follow the product instructions. Use bug repellents that contain no more than 30 to 35% DEET on adults and 10 to 15% DEET on children, and do not use insect repellents on infants. Also, don't forget to talk to your vet about the best ways to protect your pets from ticks. Personal protection is the best way to prevent tick bites and tick-borne illnesses. One of the most important things you can do is check yourself for ticks every day. They are very tiny, so look for any new freckles you may have. Favorite places for ticks like to go on your body include the areas between your toes, the back of your knees, your groin, your armpits, and your neck along the hairline and behind your ears. Remember to check your children and pets too. It can take 24 hours or more for the infected ticks to spread the disease. So even if you have a tick bite, you may be able to prevent the illness just by removing the tick as soon as possible. Use a pair of fine pointed tweezers, grip the tick as close as possible to the skin, and pull straight out with steady pressure. Circle a date on the calendar and note where the tick was removed. Talk to your physician if you develop a rash or experience fever, headache, or aching muscles. If you would like additional information, please contact the Norwood Health Department at 781-384-9197 or email us at health@norwoodma.gov.
Though we battle Dedham every November for the Wall Toady Trophy and face off for the Gregory Police Trophy every winter, Dedham and Norwood have a unique history of working together. This spring, the boys' lacrosse programs joined forces to create the Deadwood Lacrosse Team. Another exciting partnership starts this summer as Dedham opens its doors to Norwood students taking part in an exciting scientific learning program. Dedham's Summer Program Director, Alyssa Freda, shares more about the Eco Explorers program.
So the Eco Explorers is a new summer program put on by the Dedham School District. Students can join for 1 week or a few weeks. They'll get a chance to act as citizen scientists, collecting data and exploring their local environment. Our great Dedham educators will be running it, and students will experiment, research, and take a closer look at cool local insects and microscopic critters like tardigrades, which actually can be found in their backyards, which is pretty neat. There are 2 levels for this program. The first level is for grades 3 through 5, and the second is for grades 6 through 8. This program runs weekly in the month of July, from July 5th to the 29th, and it's in the afternoons from 12 to 3 p.m.
Thanks, Alyssa. For more information on getting involved in the Eco Explorers program, visit the Dedham Public Schools website or email Alyssa directly. And now we're going to toss it over to Zaina Najjar with some school news.
Hi guys, I'm Zaina Najjar. I'm a junior at Norwood High, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. In Norwood High School news, the Technology Olympics took place this week under the direction of Dr. Crowley. Students in the Technology and Robotics Department race rovers up and down Nichols Street every year to test their engineering skills in real time. Dr. Crowley shares more.
The Technology Olympics is actually based on an event that happens at college-level institutes of technology around the world, typically in the month of February each year. All those, college and university institutes of technology. This would include Wentworth, Worcester Polytech, MIT, all those institutes of technology during National Engineering Week, they have some kind of a capstone event. So the Norwood High School Technology Olympics is our capstone event. And what happens is from September 1st until the end of January, students study the 7 areas of engineering. Then from February 1st until the end of the year, typically the 2nd week of May, they have to apply all those concepts to this robotic vehicle that you see here. And this vehicle has to travel the 1-mile outdoor course without being touched by the students. If it travels the 1 mile outdoor course using consecutive forward motion, so it travels the whole course without being touched, if it completes the course, it qualifies, but the way that you win the event is by using the least amount of power. So it's really an energy conservation event. And that's, so you'll see many of the rovers use things like AC generators, where they produce their own power as this rotor actually spins close to this fixed conductor, or they'll use solar cells, but really the way that you win the event is by using the least amount of power. Our students go to the best institutes of technology in the world. Wentworth, Worcester Polytech. We've had them go to, really all over the US. But one of the things that we realized back around 2006 was, these are competitive admissions in these institutes of technology. Our students are getting into these schools and they're finishing, they're doing well, right? So it's really, being a starter is one thing, being a finisher is a totally different thing, right? These schools now want to see project portfolios where they have more applicants than they have seats for. So they want to see your project portfolio, which is essentially a group of project videos where you talk about, you're saying that, you should get admitted to Worcester Polytech. Well, all right, there are 8,000 other people who are equally as qualified. So the way that we actually document their progress is during their years here in the Norwood High School Technology and Engineering program, we take project videos at different times during their career. They weave them into a reel, and that's what they show to WPI or MIT or Wentworth. And it's really important now. So they actually have this portfolio of accomplishments when they graduate and when they apply to college.
Thanks, Dr. Crowley, and great job to all the students for another fun competition. We can't wait to see the Rovers in action next year. At the Coakley Middle School, students had the opportunity to learn from a Holocaust survivor, Janet Applefield. The students were very grateful to have had the opportunity to hear her story. The Bulge School had an amazing turnout for their Hawaiian luau. Students were all in and looked like they were in Honolulu. Principal Diane Ferreira would like to thank Melissa Lamb, PTO president, for her hard working and dedication the last few years, and said Melissa's last event was the best. Mahalo. The Callahan, Oldham, and Prescott schools held their spring instrumental concerts in the high school auditorium. This concert combined the three schools and featured the 4th grade band, 5th grade band, and combined 4th and 5th grade orchestra and 3rd grade violins. The auditorium was packed, and for many students, it was their first concert in front of an audience, and it was a great night for the young musicians and their parents. The Balch and Callahan schools will have their combined concerts on Wednesday, June 1st. Last week at the Prescott, 1st grade students experienced their first ever field trip. After learning about informational text and animal adaptations throughout the school year, students took their knowledge to the New England Aquarium in Boston. Students discovered the science of sharks and met some small but mighty sharks in an exhibit. They saw the Olympic Coast exhibit that featured 2 giant Pacific octopus, plus many colorful and diverse marine animals from the Pacific Northwest. They explored a 4-story Caribbean reef and squawked hello to dozens of penguins from around the world. The highlight was students being able to use the touch tank to pet manta rays and small sharks. Students, teachers, and chaperones enjoyed a nice picnic lunch with ocean views and front row seats to the sea lion exhibit. The students had a fantastic field trip, and it was great to see them going on field trips. Dinosaur Days are happening at LMPA. The preschoolers at Little Mustang Preschool Academy went back to prehistoric days to learn all about dinosaurs this week. They turned themselves into dinos by making cool masks. Don't be too scared. The students had a dynamite time completing puzzles, matching dinosaur cards to dinosaur toys, and learning big words like stegosaurus and brontosaurus. The preschoolers turned up in their science skills by mixing baking powder, food coloring, water, and little dinosaurs to make dinosaur eggs. After a night in the freezer, the eggs were ready to hatch. By adding vinegar by dropper fuels, great for fine motor skills, the outer eggs started to fizz, and soon the dinosaurs popped out. Our little paleontologists were excited to then play with their dinosaurs. Well, that's it for the school news. There is something interesting happening in our classrooms and schools every day, and thanks to all the educators who share their news with us. Now let's go over to Mike for the latest in sports news.
Hello and welcome to the Sports Update. It was the last week of the regular season for the Mustangs, and we had some big wins and exciting finishes. Let's take a look at some of the scores. As we mentioned on last week's newscast, the softball team needed to win 2 out of 3 games this week to qualify for the tournament playing game. Monday, the girls fell 11-6 to Hopkinton, but then on Wednesday, they rebounded nicely and picked up a 6-4 win over Medfield. Their final game of the season will be played Friday afternoon. If the girls win, they are in, and a loss would end their season. Check out our social media pages for the results of the game. The boys and girls tennis teams had a very busy week, with the girls playing 3 matches and the boys playing 4. Both teams lost all their matches in straight sets against some of the best teams in the state. The girls lacrosse team hit a bit of a tough stretch this week, facing some very strong opponents. Monday, the girls took on Hopkinton and lost by a score of 21-11. Then the very next day, it was on the road, this time in Canton, to take on the Bulldogs. The neighboring foe, Canton, proved to be too much for the Stangs and came away with the 16-8 win. The girls will be finishing up their regular season against Holliston in a critical game for their tournament hopes. Boys lacrosse split their games this week, starting with a dominating win over Somerville on senior night. The senior Norwood and Dedham boys and their families were honored before the game, then it was off and running. The goals from Deadwood came fast and furious, and before you could even blink, they were up 14-0 with goals from TJ Harris, Richie Carroll, and many others. At half, Deadwood was up 14-1. The goal of the night came from senior goaltender, that's right, senior goalie Jack Curran. And let's listen to the call.
Okay.
Here comes Jack Curran back in
Curran
the net.
back in net. He's looking to get himself a goal here. Is he going all the way on that? He's able to score. So Curran, the senior on his senior, on the senior captain day, decides on the save. You know, everyone else is kind of getting in the action. So he goes end to end.
Congrats to Jack on his first career goal. There was another milestone moment in this game. With this goal, senior TJ Harris was able to pick up his 100th career point. We were able to speak to TJ after the game.
You know, we assumed that goal that you had scored there was obviously some sort of important number, because we saw you go in right after the ball there for us. So walk us through that one there. You knew coming in you needed what? You needed the 7 points there for 100?
Yeah, so I needed it was towards the middle of the season. I was like, all right, I'm getting closer and closer. And it was 1 goal games, a couple points here, a couple points there. And then I was like, all right, so I need 7 left, and we got 3 games left.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I can either do it in 3 games or I can do it in just 1. So I was like, that first one, I was like, wasn't really. I was like, okay, so my first dodge, I was like, wasn't really a real dodge. It was just more of a jitter step, and I got around him and shot it. So I was like, okay, so this is going to be the game.
Listen, a great game today. Congratulations on the 100.
Thank you.
And we'll continue to watch and hopefully take this momentum right into playoff time.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All
Good
right.
luck in tournament. Thank you.
Then on Wednesday, the boys were back at it against a more formidable opponent in Medway. In the first half, the defense shined and both goaltenders played lights out. At half, Deadwood would be just ahead by a score of 5-3. Then in the second half, both teams traded goals, and just a few minutes left, Medway would find themselves down by 2. They scored twice very quickly to tie it up and send it into overtime. In overtime, Medway would capitalize on a fast break and came away with a 12-11 win. Deadwood ends their season Friday against Bellingham. Volleyball played their final match of the season on Monday when they hosted Millis. Millis took the first match, but Norwood showed some grit, coming back to win the second match. In the end, the Mohawks would prove to be too much, winning the last 2 sets and coming away with 3-1 win. Baseball had 4 games this week, starting with a 4-3 win against Hopkinton on Monday night. George Tolman knocked in 3 runs, and Owen Desjardins pitched a complete game win, and we talked to both guys after the game.
Started off with a good lead, kept the lead. Defense helped me a bit, and all I can say is we're here to stay.
And George, 3 RBIs and a 4-3 win. Talk us through the at-bats.
I was just grinding it out every at-bat. We had my teammates were helping me out, getting on base, and then I was just doing my best to put the ball in play and knock them in.
Then on Wednesday, the boys traveled to Medfield to take on the number 3 team in the state. It was a pitcher's duel as Jack Cropper threw a gem for the Stangs. Norwood plated 1 run in the first inning, and the score would hold until the 6th. They scored another one late to make it 2-0, but then Medfield was able to score twice in the 7th to force extra innings. In extras, the Warriors strung together a couple hits, and they walked it off with a 3-2 win. Then the boys were back at it Thursday with the game of the week against rival Walpole. The Timberwolves took an early 1-0 lead with a line drive to left in the third inning. Then it only took Norwood 1 inning to respond when Jack Cropper blooped one into center and scored George Tolman. Then 2 innings later, Tolman led off the bottom of the sixth with a laser beam into the gap in right center, resulting in a triple. Just a few pitches later, a pass ball scored Tolman to give the Stangs a 2-1 lead. Lights out pitcher by senior Jonathan Demeray kept Walpole off the board. Due to a pitch count, Demeray had to leave the game with 2 outs in the 7th, and junior Sean Dittmeyer came into the mound to close out the game. After a couple walks, Diddy, as he's known, struck out the final batter, sealing the 2-1 win for the Stangs. We spoke to Tolman and Dittmeyer after the game.
Hey, George, congratulations. What a great win.
Thank you, yeah.
Walk us through that. I mean, that was we were going to try to give you 2 triples tonight. Your first one you didn't hit too hard. We almost gave you a triple on that one, but that last one, boy, you just smoked that. What was that like when you saw that pitch? I mean, were you waiting on that and you knew that was coming?
Yeah, I was expecting first pitch fastball, and I knew that was going to be the best pitch I get the entire at bat. So I saw it coming, I jumped on it, and worked out.
Demeray does a fantastic job for you guys. I mean, he has been a battler all year. I was saying to the guys, he doesn't come with a lot of heat a lot of times. Sometimes he gets himself into his jam, but he's a kind of a pitcher that can, work out of that jam. What's it like, in having him on the mound and you guys are kind of playing behind him?
Yeah, he's our leader. He's consistent. He throws strikes, and we always know when he's on the mound, he's going to give us a chance to win. So I'd run through a brick wall for that guy. He's my best friend, and he pitched great tonight.
And it looks like we got a little bit of a follow-up coming. There he is. We got Sean Dittmeyer as well. Sean, way to close that one out today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you had to make it a little interesting, right? You didn't want to just go 1, 2, 3. You figured you would kind of like move guys around and get them close, right?
Oh, yeah. You always got to give the crowd a show, right?
That's right. Well, you knew you were live tonight, so you want to at least, kind of keep the people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. You've kind of, you're battling a little bit. How do you stay focused in a situation like that to close it out?
You got to really just block out all the noise, kind of just almost have a conversation with yourself saying just next pitch strike, and keep that moving. It's hard with all the noise and the pressure on you, but got to find a way to get it done.
I mean, it was just the Walpole game, so it's not like anyone cared about
yeah,
it.
Exactly.
No one pays attention to the Walpole game.
There's no one watching this game.
No, not at all.
Listen, I just said to George and to all the guys, a fantastic win tonight. Really, really gutsy win, gritty win. Looks things are really starting to kind of click right now as you guys head towards the postseason. So best of luck, and let's finish out strong tomorrow night, right?
Thank you very much. Mustangs here to stay.
There you go,
Good luck.
boys.
Congratulations, Eddie.
All right,
Thank you.
guys. Be good.
As the regular season is coming to an end, there are some outcomes that could sway tournament berths for a few of the Mustang teams. And as of Friday, the power rankings are: baseball is sitting at the 11 seed and most certainly will host a first-round matchup in the tournament. Softball is sitting at number 43 and could earn a play-in game with a win over Holliston on Friday. Boys volleyball is on the outside looking in, sitting at number 35. Barring some losses by teams in front of them, they will most likely miss tournament. Girls lacrosse is sitting at the number 32 seed and currently in the final spot of the tournament. They will have 1 game remaining, and a win would automatically give them a play-in game, but a loss by a close score could potentially keep them at the number 32 spot. Boys lacrosse is also at the 32 spot, but they will have an automatic bid into the tournament with a play-in game due to their record being over 500. A win in the final game could bump them up a few spots and out of the play-in bracket. And outside of our power rankings, a number of our track athletes will be competing in the D3 state meet over the weekend. Friday, we will have Dylan O'Brien running the 800, Dylan Hamway running the 2-mile, Isaiah Groupie, Elias West, and Eric Wally running the 200, and Tina Fontaine also running the 200. Shayla Wynn will compete in the triple jump, and Jordan Woodley will compete in the 400 hurdles. Then on Sunday, they will have a number of runners back at it as the Dylans, O'Brien and Hamway, along with Jack Doyle and John Kavanaugh, will run the 4x800. Isaiah Groupie, Elias West, Eric Wally, and Luigi Gentile will run the 100. Then Groupie, West, Wale, and Jordan Woodley will run the 4x100. And finally, Tina Fontaine will be running the 100. Good luck to all the athletes this weekend competing in the D3 meet. That's all for sports this week. Check us out on social media for upcoming tournament coverage. Kristen, back to you.
Thanks, Mike. In government, the planning board met at the Senior Center Monday evening. The first applicant, H&L Nails, appeared before the board to request adjustments to the current signage. The board reviewed the request and it was approved. The next applicant, based out of Prospect Street, requested to continue the public hearing until July 11th and it was approved. Next, representation from Norwood Hospital appeared before the board to discuss project details. The board voted to continue the discussion on June 6th so that board members have enough time to review the application completely before moving forward. The last public hearing welcomed residents on Dean Street concerned about water drainage. The group listened to concerns and questions from residents and voted to continue the discussion to the next meeting. The board meets again on June 6th. The Historical Commission met on Tuesday morning at the George H. Morse House. The board opened the meeting recapping their 150th open house celebration held on the weekend of April 30th. There were visitors from Norwood, but also surrounding towns. Everyone was able to walk around the Morse House and learn about the history. With the new middle school passing, AI3 sent a letter of support.
I certainly think the letter, and you're a great writer, can include that we have followed the project, we understand its necessity, and we are pleased with the project. I think it's totally appropriate, though, that we do say that we are in a butter to this property, and that this is a house that's listed on Macris, and that as the project ensues, that if there's anything where they have to notify abutters, that we're in a butter, and that the Norwood Historical Commission should be involved in the process. So some of the topics you just mentioned, I'd like the town to make sure the house here, the Morse House, has some really good pest management control going on. If this isn't quite, fully occupied at the time, I don't know what the future rehabilitative use is going to be. But I agree with you that little critters, when they get, moved, yes, displaced.
Their little homes.
Also, should there be, the heavy machinery, I have no doubt that the house is secure. It survived that school being built, I'm sure it will survive, But, if there's a lot of earth shaking going on, we need to take things off the walls in here, the picture frames, things like that. So there are preparations we would make, and I don't think that's Mass Historical Commission's problem, but I do think it's pertinent that we're abutters. We have no objection to the project, but to be aware that there is a historical property right next door.
The commission will also be sending out applications to homeowners for historical house signs in the coming weeks. The Historical Commission will meet next month. The Board of Selectmen held a show cause hearing with representatives of the Workman's Hall located on Wilson Street. The hearing was set to consider whether the all-alcoholic beverages license should be suspended, limited, or revoked following several alleged incidents that had occurred at the establishment over the past year. Town Council David DeLuca presented exhibits where Norwood Police had become involved and are conducting investigations.
Thank you. I have provided to you a packet of information that comes from the Norwood Police and their investigation of this premises and this license over the course of the last couple of years. And our intention is to provide oral testimony of Detective Green, who's been the principal investigator in this matter. He'll summarize each of these reports. The case is before you on two distinct matters. One, that is the service of alcohol to non-members of an establishment that has a club license, and the service to members only or guests of members. And the second is regarding a regulation which has been provided to you. That regulation requires that any licensed premises be free from any disturbance or disorderly conduct or illegality on the premises. And you'll find from these reports that unfortunately this premises has a history of disorder, disturbance, and illegalities being present on the premises.
Selectman Plasko reiterated that Workman's Hall is a club establishment that needs to have member identification and a logbook for guests of members.
You made a statement a moment ago that you don't really have any problems with your members, it's all with the non-members. And that's exactly why we're here tonight. The fact that there are non-members in the club.
Exactly.
And that you have been allowing it, and I don't necessarily point to you personally. The club has been allowing this to go on for years. There's been all these incidents, each time been spoken to, each time they've been told, we'll get a book, we'll make sure the members sign in, and it's still not happening. Even after the last incident, an undercover officer was sent in and was still served and not asked whether he was a member or if he was a guest. So it continues to go on. You have a sign out in front on Wilson Street that says tavern. You're not a tavern, you're a club. We haven't issued a tavern in the town's history as far as I know, as long as I've been around. And you also advertise billiards. Why would you need to advertise billiards if it's simply for club members? I think the problem is, and I'll stand corrected, but my impression is the problem is that you're running a billiard parlor, you're allowing non-members in. I think from these reports, sounds like your employees have done the best they can once an incident occurs. The problem is the incident is occurring because non-members are present and they're not supposed to be. I'm looking for some punishment because I think of the seriousness of this. I'm looking for you to agree that the sign out front will be covered so that it doesn't say tavern or billiards, so that you're not inviting people just traveling by, because that's what a tavern is, what people are traveling to come and stop for rest and refreshment. And the billiards, again, your club members know whether you have billiard tables or not. They know whether they want to come and play at the club. That doesn't need to be advertised. And you have to do what is required of a club. You have to have membership. You have to have some way, as Mr. Donnelly was asking, of pointing out a membership card, some way of proving their membership. And the bartenders on duty have to be, management, who's ever there, has to be adhering to those rules, including a sign-in book for any guests that might be allowed. I know one club I belong to, you're even limited to how many guests you can bring in the course of a year.
After some discussion amongst the board, a decision on punishment had been made.
I will make a motion for a 2-day closure or suspension of licensure with another 2 days held in abeyance pending the submission of a corrective action plan from the Workman's Hall Management Group addressing the concerns outlined in tonight's hearing.
And in particular, that would be the signage out front, the membership identification, the guest book, and training of the bartenders and other employees as to what your rules for participation in the club are. Does that sum it up?
Yes.
And just to interrupt again, I think we need to be a little more specific. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but could we say the Friday and Saturday, 3 weeks up, following 3 weeks from today?
Close to the 4th of July, is it?
I don't know what it is. I don't have a calendar. And the following Saturday, Friday and Saturday, of which those two would be held in abeyance, provided the club meets the other requirements within a 30-day period?
I think that's reasonable.
30-day period.
I will second.
Okay, anything further on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries 4-1.
The board meets again next week. The Airport Commission met Wednesday evening at the airport. Airport manager Russ McGuire is retiring this year following a long tenure with the local airport. The group discussed details regarding the vacancy and working with the town to draft the upcoming job posting. The board also discussed contract updates with Ray Contracting and submitted 2 FAA payment requests. The board meets again in June. For complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government Channel or watch on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for a Veterans Day tribute and a showcase of some local yard art.
The
The Ecumenical Community Food Pantry of Norwood is a local volunteer organization that serves families in Norwood and the surrounding towns. Founded in 1989, serving just 6 clients, the pantry has grown to now serving over 350 families. Located at 150 Chapel Street in Norwood, the entrance to the pantry is at the back of the Grace Episcopal Church. The pantry hours are from 9 a.m. to 11:40 a.m. on Saturday mornings. For more information about the Norwood Food Pantry or how to donate or volunteer, visit www.norwoodpantry.org.
Welcome back. The town continued to celebrate the Norwood 150th this weekend with a number of events. Sunday was a busy day. In the morning, there were several tributes displayed around town. Tributes included a reenactment of the Revolutionary War on Town Common and storyboards of veterans designed by Coakley Middle School students. At the Senior Center, memorabilia and more storyboards were on display. Ann Haley from the Norwood 150th Committee shares more about the historic displays.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to thank some people that made today possible, and that was the Boy Scouts of Troop 42 and all the wonderful volunteers that came out to tell people what our veterans went through and explain how things were when they were in the service and how brave everybody has been. And so I think today has gone well. We've got lots of people. I think you can hear them in the background. And I am so proud of what everybody has managed to put on and gave us stories about their wonderful family members, and just it's been a privilege actually to be doing this.
Then later in the day, the Parkway Concert Orchestra performed in the crowded auditorium at Norwood High School. The orchestra, which is made up of over 30 members, performed 2 sets of music for the residents in attendance. To watch the hour and 20-minute performance, tune into NCM's community channel. It turns out you don't always need a brush and canvas to make stunning art. In fact, all you need are some household items and some imagination to create a piece of yard art. NHS visual arts teacher Lori Mead McGrory explains more about yard art.
So this is our community art making event for yard art. So FOVA is the Friends of the Visual Arts Norwood, and we're trying out our first community-wide art event. We usually work mostly with public school kids and doing art shows and having Saturday classes and things of that nature. But one of our members had seen yard art in Watertown and was like, oh, let's try this in Norwood, and we figured with the 150th, this is the perfect year to try it out. So what yard art is when people make things for their front door, their yard, their porches, big, small creations out of unique materials. So we have duct tape and safety fence and pool noodles and yard signs. So the idea is the weekend of June 11th and 12th, people can drive around Norwood or walk around their neighborhood and see all sorts of interesting creations in people's yards.
With the summer season right around the corner, the town of Norwood just announced the schedule for both Concerts on the Common on Sunday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. and Summerfest on Wednesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. Both concert series will take place at the gazebo on the town common. The concerts kick off July 6th and 10th. Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.